Okay, this meeting is called to order for the Gold Hill City Council, November 1st, 2021. Roll call, please.
Mayor Studebaker.
Here.
Councilor Biesheuch.
Here.
Councilor Hinckley.
Here.
Councilor Rigney.
Here.
Councilor Palmer.
Here.
Councilor Wilson.
Here.
Councilor Gino.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Excellent. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, item number 3, awards, announcements, and proclamations. Do we have Joshua in the queue with Gold Valley? We're good. Bring him in. Good evening, Josh. Can you hear us? You're muted.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see here. So this is all new to me. So is it my turn to speak?
It is. You have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to introduce myself. I am the new president of the Gold Valley Little League. And this responsibility is not taken lightly on me. It kind of got dropped in my lap. So I am looking to see, basically, I need wisdom and knowledge and guidance for what we can do down there at the park. I put a lot of effort into the MAC field last year, and I'm trying to just get input from people on, you know, especially the city council, on like what we can do to help make that a place where kids want to come play. COVID has really shut down the Little League programs the last couple of years. Last year we had a very successful season, even though we had to merge with Central Point. But there was a lot of hardship for parents having to go to Central Point and to the Cal Ripken fields out by the Jackson County Sports Park out by the drag strip. And so what I would like to do is try to get all that stuff and all those kids that come back to our community to where they live and they can play. So there's quite a bit of stuff that needs to be done down there at the fields. And I have no clue on how to go about doing it, with us being leasing the fields from the city. So if there's any info or anything that you guys can give me as far as getting that up and going, that would be great.
Yeah, Josh, so do you have a copy of the lease? Because a lot of what you can and can't do is outlined in that document.
I literally just picked up all the paperwork from the old board, which they all just completely resigned one night. So I'm going through everything. Like I said, it's a lot of work. And so I'm not struggling, it's trying to prioritize the things that are, you know, most important.
Well, for the most part, the entire ball field maintenance and repairs, it's all on you. It's your ball field. You handle that. The city doesn't handle that. I can email you a copy of the lease if you're not sure if you have it in the paperwork, because I have a copy of it. They just re-signed it year before last.
Okay. Yeah, if you could email me a direct copy of that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and yeah, you have a couple of water meters there. You're responsible for paying the utility bills.
Yep.
I see some counselors have questions for you.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Malia?
Actually, this question really isn't for Josh. It's for Jessica maybe, or Jerry, about the contract with Little League. Who's responsible for cleaning and maintaining the parking lot there?
Oh, that is a good question. I'm not sure if the parking lot's covered. I'll have to look at that.
Because there's a lot of trash in the parking lot right now. It looks trashy. And I don't know if that's the city's responsibility. This is definitely not anything negative about you, Josh. This is just, I want to say that it's weedy. There's weeds and there's trash in the parking lot along the fence that divides between the parking lot and the water plant. So anyway, that needs to be clarified because I don't think I think probably the city staff thinks it's up to the baseball people, and the baseball people think it's up to the city staff because it's just definitely not getting done.
Jessica and Jerry, maybe you can follow up on that and clarify and communicate that with Josh.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think Councilor Hinckley has comments.
Yes, Danielle.
Josh, as far as guidance, in previous years, I know that Little League has run pledge drives. And that might be your best go-to and your first step is to find out when that annual pledge drive comes, because I know on top of leasing you guys the fields, council usually gives, I think, about $100. Some of the local businesses give money as well for sponsorships of the Little League and pledge funds. So I would look through your paperwork, see when that annual pledge drive is supposed to be coming about. And that might be one of your first steps to look for funding. And that's really the best guidance that I could give for you. Is I do know that I don't think we were asked last year for a pledge. And I think the last year that we were actually asked for a pledge was before the pandemic. So reaching out to those local businesses and organizations might be your first step.
Correct. Yeah. Last year, the board voted to send all the kids to the Central Point Little League. So that's why they didn't ask for any funding last year. But I do hear what you're saying. I'll find out about that and move forward with that. Now I do have.
Sorry, I'm looking at the lease and it says the leased premises do include the parking lot. So the parking lot is the Little League's responsibility.
Now, is that year round or is that just when the season?
That's always yours. Like we can't just, play on the ball fields or anything. So yeah, it's year round. And this is a 5-year lease.
So it's a 5-year lease. Okay. So and forgive me if I sound ignorant with this. So being that it's a city park, but it's leased to the Gold Valley Little League, all the vehicles that get parked down there that are hitting the hiking trail and everything, we're responsible for picking up their garbage and stuff like that. And so I guess what I'm asking is are we, the Little League, responsible for providing dumpsters for the city park and all that?
No, it's a valid question. I'm sure we can work out some kind of amendment agreement for different parts of the year or something. I don't know what I'm speaking to here. You guys can decide that, but yeah, it does say that.
I don't know how to get my face up here on my phone, so.
Well, I mean, aside from contract negotiations, which I don't think this is the appropriate place for, I know that you were asking for suggestions on how to get the kids to come back. I think once that cleanup is negotiated with city staff, I know that the Parks Committee has a Facebook group where they ask for volunteers to come out on Wednesdays and do weed whackers and clean up in the park. Perhaps that might be a way to get kids to come back out, is helping to clean up the ball fields and getting a team of kids together, and that might get them a little bit interested. I know on the city website, we have a calendar that we can put up. We can help you to maybe reach out to the kids there. The school, I know, has a community calendar where they do events for the school, and getting kids to come out for a cleanup might get them to socialize and maybe get them a little bit interested in getting back into the ball fields.
Excellent. How do we go about setting up a meeting to go over contract negotiations?
Yeah. Hey, Josh, this is Jerry Breckenridge. I'm the city manager. I was just going to offer up, why don't we meet up? If you can call City Hall tomorrow, set up an appointment, and we'll just talk about it, because I've dealt with little leagues in the past and I've got some suggestions. And, you know, as far as the contract negotiation, I really do think there has to be some reasonableness when it comes to that. So come on down and we'll talk about it and we'll get it all hammered out.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yes.
So Josh, I didn't want to sound really, really negative. I really hope you guys can revive and have a league back in Gold Hill. I love seeing the activity. My house looks out over the park. I love watching you guys have baseball jams down there. I think that's great. So I, you know, come back and work with us. And I know somebody was here 2 weeks ago, I think at the last city council meeting, talking about Little League too, and about maybe a scholarship fund. And so, you know, if you're comfortable, contact me separately. I'll talk to you about that. I'd be happy to participate in that. Or bring it back to city council. If we have discretionary funds, we can throw $50 into a scholarship fund or something for kids. I'd really love to see the baseball fields being used. Good luck.
Yes, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on and introducing yourself, Josh. Big job having handed off to you. But Jerry Breckenridge is our new city manager. He's got lots of experience. The two of you should be able to work together very well and understand you have the full-throated support of city council.
Well, I
Thank
appreciate that. Thank you guys for having me. And Jerry, I will be getting in touch with you tomorrow.
Outstanding. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. Item 4, public input. Do we have anyone in the queue?
I think we have
Danielle?
two letters of correspondence from council members, Mayor.
So I have an emailed public input from Christine Alford on 2nd Avenue. In the approved budget on page 1, line 6 and page 7, line 8, a total of $150,000 was transferred out of the street fund into the general fund and the public safety fund, as well as $55,000 from the stormwater fund. Instead of taking these monies that were collected for specific infrastructure purpose and using it for other things, why isn't it a better idea to leave those funds where they are and actually have Public Works clean the storm drains with that money and also fix the streets with the money, and pull that portion of the Public Works salary from those funds for doing the work that the money is intended to? Surely that is a better idea than taking stormwater money and street fund money and filling the gap in the general fund. The most appropriate way for the street and stormwater money to be used is to pay the salary of workers who fix the streets and clean the storm drains, not borrow it and transfer it into other funds with no work being done on the infrastructure. The general fund revenues were only $449,440, and $95,000 of that was misappropriated from the sewer and street funds, leaving only $354,440 total revenue for the general fund. How can parks be funded at $197,000, which is over 50% of the entire general fund?
Thank you, Daniela and Christine. Malia?
Yes, I also have a letter from Gus Wolf. I'm pulling it up right here. Okay, this letter is from Gus and Andrea Wolf of Gold Hill, addressed to Gold Hill City Council, November 1, 2021. He says, they say our truck was stolen right from in front of our house Saturday morning. Another truck was stolen last night from a John Winchester in Gold Hill. We are very concerned about the termination of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office contract with Gold Hill. It's hard to feel good about living in Gold Hill when thieves are stealing vehicles right out of your front yard. We strongly urge you to continue the contract with Jackson County Sheriff's Office and help implement neighborhood watch programs around the city. We're also very concerned that Gold Hill council meetings are still being held via Zoom. Central Point and Rogue River meetings are open to the public with masks. We hope the next meetings are open to the public again. Another point of concern is that we cannot find the minutes posted on the Gold Hill City website. Citizens have no idea what transpired after the fact. A little more information and an explanation, the agendas would also be helpful. Thank you all for your time and efforts to make Gold Hill a great place to live. Gus and Andrea Wolf.
Thank you, Malia and Gus and Andrea. Theft is an issue. Two pickups taken in a week, that's not great. Probably it'd be timely to remind each other, lock your cars, and probably
They were locked. They were locked.
not have stuff out and obvious through the windows. It's too bad that we have to be careful like this in our little town, but sounds like we do. Okay, consent agenda. We have the city council meetings, and Gus, if you're viewing this, please note that we did go back and do a number of council minutes, 3 of them from the past year or a little bit more. Are there any corrections, additions to those 3 council meetings minutes? Malia?
Muted.
I'm muted and your camera is off, Brad. We can't see
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we had to kind
My
of,
signal is going in and out, so
Yeah, it's
I've
where
got to
it's-
mute it.
Oh, okay,
Keep things
okay,
stable.
okay.
I apologize for that, but otherwise I get every other word of people talking. Okay, so there are the minutes. We'll accept them as is. October financial statements, any corrections, comments on those?
The only
And
question that I have is if I motion to approve consent agenda, can I encompass all of 6 or are we doing it line by
yes,
line?
that's the whole point of the consent agenda. You just make a motion to accept everything here so that we don't have to have, but if there's anything that you want to discuss, we can pull it back out and discuss it on the agenda. But yeah, this is so you can approve everything at once and we can move on to the next thing. And I'm trying to get all the minutes caught up. I'm working on it. You see, I made some headway this week, so I'm going to keep at it and get us all caught up.
you go, girl. And then there's the appointment of Rob Lowe to the Parks Committee position. Any comments there? Rob, of course, is well known as a past city manager and mayor and council member. So we welcome his continued involvement in our town. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I will motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call.
Counselor Bishad,
Yes.
Counselor Hinckley,
Yes.
Counselor Rigney,
Yes.
Counselor Palmer,
Muted.
Yes.
Counselor Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Gino.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you. Council consideration 7.1, MRMPO budget approval.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. As you know, in September 2021, the city of Gold Hill was notified by the MRMPO that it would be receiving $270,000 in COVID-19 relief funds to be used for transportation-related projects expenditures in Gold Hill. The funds, a one-time influx of revenue, were an unexpected windfall that can be used to address city needs that could not be funded through traditional grants or anticipated revenue sources. As you know, we had a budget committee meeting earlier this evening in which I believe the committee chose to approve a portion of the recommended budget and hold off on another portion of that budget. And if you give me just 1 second, let me find it. So according to our meeting earlier tonight, the budget committee approved the spending of $142,020 and to stand by on other expenditures until further research is conducted. So I present this to you for consideration and a motion.
We've discussed it extensively. Are there any other new points to be made? Then we would entertain a motion to accept the top portion coming to 142,000 and change.
I'll make the motion to accept the top portion of the 140, whatever the number is, of MRMPO as a start, leaving the rest to be determined.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Jessica?
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor Bishad,
Yes.
Counselor Ginaw,
Yes.
Counselor Hinckley,
Yes.
Counselor Rigney,
Yes.
Counselor Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. 7.2, Sheriff's Contract. Jerry, I think you've been the point on that. Would you please
Sure.
give us an update there?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. As everyone is aware, our agreement or intergovernmental agreement with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department expired in September. It was a 3-year agreement in which we agreed to pay $181,320 per year to fund the dedicated patrol time of 1 deputy, 40 hours per week. The agreement also guarantees code enforcement within the city. Because our agreement expired in September, we made contact with Jackson County. They allowed us to continue on a month-to-month basis until we can either negotiate a new contract or terminate the expired contract. I did reach out to Jackson County, asked if we could reduce the number of hours of patrol time in an attempt to save the city some money, and that's simply not possible. So it's kind of, we're either all in or we terminate the contract. I did provide you with a staff report that has a lot of my findings. Hopefully you all had time to review that staff report. I also watched the work session that this council had regarding law enforcement services. And I know that one of the discussions in that work session was whether or not we could contract with either Rogue River or Central Point. In my opinion, I think that's problematic. If we contract with one of these agencies, the question then becomes, who responds when we dial 911? Is it Rogue River or Central Point because we're contracted with them, or is it the Sheriff's Department? And if it is the Sheriff's Department, is it going to be finger pointing when a crime does occur? In other words, the Sheriff's Department can say, well, you guys contract with Rogue River, they have to take the call. It's just it's a jurisdictional nightmare, in my opinion. Now, I know that there are concerns about lack of law enforcement in Gold Hill if we terminate our contract. I don't have those concerns. And, you know, I have confirmed that the Sheriff's Department will still respond when you pick up the phone and call the police. the sheriff's department will respond. So we will have them still handling our calls for service. With your approval, I'd also like to continue to offer up our office that we have here for the sheriff's department, and that would hopefully attract them to the city where they can, again, have a presence. Some options that I included in my staff report was contracting with a private security firm. Now, understood, private security firms have no additional powers of arrest than you or I. If they are going to arrest somebody, it's a private person's arrest, just like you or I would affect. However, if we do a contract with them to provide us patrol time within the city, there's visibility. We have an extra set of eyes and ears out there looking out for our city. We also have the opportunity to contract with a private security firm to do our code enforcement, which is very needed here in Gold Hill. I met with the judge last week and she's ready to go. And, theoretically, code enforcement should pay for itself through fees and fines and enforcement. So the city stands to save a lot of money if we end our agreement with the sheriff's department. And I truly do not see that the lack of an agreement will be noticed. But I present all of that to you. I'm available for questions, and I'm just looking forward to the discussion.
Leah, and then Danielle.
Okay, so so I have a couple questions. First of all, so just to confirm, right now we're paying how much?
181.
How much per month?
181.
It's 15.
Yeah.
Okay, 1,500 a month, and we're supposed to be getting. Sorry, what?
15,000.
Sorry,
15,000.
Of course, 15,000 a month, and we're supposed to be getting 40 hours a week of patrol, correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And do we have any evidence or any documentation of how much time JCSO is actually patrolling?
We do not. The records management system that they have will document how much time a deputy spends on a call, to include response time, time at the call, and any time that may be associated with the report, but it doesn't annotate their patrol time. So if they're not checked out on a call, that time isn't logged. So there's no way of tracking how much time they drive through or patrol Gold Hill.
So we actually don't know how much time they are actually patrolling Gold Hill. Okay. Next question about the private patrols. Do they provide their own vehicles, their own equipment, their own liability insurance? All that?
They do. Yes, yes, and yes.
And are the vehicles that they're driving, are they marked?
I have not seen the vehicles. I'm used to city ordinances that require the city manager or police chief to approve the design of the vehicle that's going to be used in the city. I'm not sure that we have that in place here, but I would certainly look into that. And I would also want the council's input. Do you want something that looks like a police vehicle or not?
Those are my questions. Thanks.
So my concerns have to do with funding, as we know, and the budget documents and funds that were transferred. It's my understanding that right now that we don't have the money for the sheriff's contract, but I want to make sure and confirm that once we get the audit done and we are solid on our numbers, we will have the opportunity to revisit this contract, just in case, because here's the thing, if we terminate and it turns out in 3 months they were actually showing up 40 hours a week and doing something, I want the opportunity to then go back and renegotiate the contract. And I want to make sure we're not burning a bridge here.
Right. And Jessica can confirm the funds are there. We just transferred from the wrong accounts. And I want to assure the council that we didn't burn any bridges. I met with the lieutenant last week. He understands it's business, it's not personal, and we still enjoy a good relationship with the sheriff's department. So in fact, they're thankful of the timing because they do have vacancies. If they had no vacancies, that means if we terminate the contract, they're on the hook for that person's salary because we are no longer paying. So they're actually pretty grateful that we're letting them know now so they don't hire that extra position for Gold Hill.
And Jerry, you're comfortable with your law enforcement background and being police chief a couple of times. You're pretty comfortable that the care of our community is not going to drop off if we go with another model?
I am, and I take this very seriously. In speaking with the lieutenant last week, he even told me that he encourages his deputies to come through Gold Hill rather than travel on I-5. And I don't think that's going to change because when it comes down to it, the sheriff's department is still responsible for the crime that occurs in Gold Hill. And the sheriff does not want to have astronomical stats, of a crime spree occurring in Gold Hill. So they do still have a vested interest in keeping control of crime here in Gold Hill. They will still come when you call. And when they do come here, you'll see a patrol vehicle responding to the call. You'll see that patrol vehicle leaving that call. So there will still be a presence here in Gold Hill. And if the council wants to add the security patrols, I kind of like having that type of accountability. If we contract with a private firm, I think that we have more say in as far as their accountability. So I'm comfortable, and I'm comfortable also in that, in 3 or 4 months, if we want to readdress it, we can. But I truly believe that we're going to be taken care of.
Thank you. Malia.
So speaking of stats, I would, this is the first thing, then a second thing, but I would like to see some stats. Not necessarily before we make this decision, but I would like us to track stats. How many burglaries, how many car thefts, how many whatever, and then keep on top of that every month to month as we go along. And I would like us to continue having this. If we decide to terminate, I want this reevaluated like almost every month, maybe every couple of months. Look at are the stats going up or down? And I guess the second point was I think if we do decide to terminate, we need a really close schedule of reevaluating.
Got it. That's great information. We can do that.
And Jerry, you get stats now on a variety of things, including the actual categories of crimes committed in town, right?
I do. I don't receive them as frequently as I'd like, but they are available.
Lieutenant made them available monthly when I was in conversation with him. So maybe that can just be something that the two of you do, is a monthly meeting to review the previous month's stats.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then early warning if we have a downward trend. Janet, and then Danielle, and then Malia.
First, I think monthly is probably asking a bit much, maybe quarterly. Once a month, 4 weeks goes by really fast. Second, just a point that we have been paying for, my mind's blank. Code enforcement. We've been paying for code enforcement for a long time, and we haven't been getting it. So that's something else we're paying for that we're not receiving. And then the third question is, how many hours are you looking at? Maybe like 40 hours patrol time and maybe 10 hours a week of code enforcement, or what's your ballpark?
I was actually looking at 20 hours patrol time and 20 hours code enforcement. And I did some rough figures. Oh, goodness. Uh, 20 hours per week is 36,400. So you're looking at about 75 grand a year. if we do 20 hours of patrol, 20 hours of code enforcement. I think more than 20 hours for the size of Gold Hill. Again, I came from this. I remember working a patrol beat, and when you're restricted to a very small patrol beat, you can cover it in 10 or 15 minutes, and then you're basically just wasting time. So 20 hours, believe it or not, I think will, as long as we can specify when we want them patrolling. For instance, from the hours of midnight to 6 a.m., when a lot of your crimes are occurring, your property theft crimes, we would want more time during those time periods, and less during, 8 to 4, because 8 to 4, everybody's out anyway. You guys are patrolling your neighborhoods. So yeah, 20 hours code enforcement, 20 hours of patrol, it comes to about 72,000.
I personally would much rather see like maybe 30 hours patrol and 10 hours code enforcement.
Yeah.
I just don't see that we need 20 hours a week of code enforcement.
That's excessive code enforcement. I agree. Yeah,
Well,
we don't
okay.
have that many violators.
Well, okay.
And I would guess that will change.
Except for
over
maybe,
time.
I don't know, maybe in the summer to do parking tickets in the sports park, maybe up it during that time, which we'd make it back. So maybe during the summer, we up it for a few months to have them handle parking code enforcement.
Got it.
Danielle.
So one of my chief concerns is actually what I called you about earlier, Jerry. So down here on my side of town, we've been having, and I don't want to go too much into it, but we've been having what sounds like blood-curdling screams that are happening sometimes late at night, sometimes during the day. It sounds like there is somebody who needs help. And I don't know if it's a kid that's doing it, if it's actually somebody shouting from a house. But if we go to a security county sheriff hybrid, if I hear somebody screaming like that, who would do the investigation? Would I call City Hall? Would I call 911? Because this obviously isn't happening from the streets. It sounds like it's coming from somebody's home. And who would do the investigation at that point?
It'd be the sheriff's department. Ending this agreement with the sheriff's department does not end their services here for Gold Hill. So any law enforcement related incident would still get called in to the sheriff's department. The security patrol is basically, it's like neighborhood watch. They're out there being our eyes and ears. And even if they see something or hear something like you're describing, they're going to call the sheriff's department. So it'll still be the sheriff's department.
Malia.
So a couple of things. I agree. Quarterly is probably sufficient for a report on crime statistics, but I would like those reported at city council for the public, just for public.
Okay. Sure.
I think that the public is very concerned about public safety and they deserve to know the numbers.
Understood.
The other thing, let's see, about, I'll think of it. Never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
So you made 5 recommendations or possibilities for a direction we could go, Jerry. What are you inclined to think would best suit our needs as they are right now?
Based on our conversation this evening, probably that last option, and you guys fill in the blanks as far as, from what I understood, 30 hours of patrol and 10 hours of code enforcement, and it's all there for you.
Malia?
Yeah, I remember what I was thinking of. I think that if we decide to do this, I think we need to be really proactive in how we roll this out to the public. I think there's going to be a very negative perception that comes back that we've canceled the contract with the sheriff's department. I think we need to be really, really proactive in telling the public that they can still call 911, that the sheriff's the sheriff department is still responsible for emergencies and for handling investigations of crime. It's not like we don't have any law enforcement at all.
Right.
I'm just
I
saying we need to
wholeheartedly
be
agree. Yep.
really, really proactive about it.
Absolutely. I don't think that our citizens are going to notice a change. In fact, I think they'll notice a difference with the increased security patrols. I think they're going to, every time they look outside, they're going to see a security car drive by. But it is imperative that we all continue to let people know that the sheriff's department has not abandoned us. They are still our go-to law enforcement agency. They are still obligated to respond to calls for service. And just because we are no longer funding an officer or a deputy doesn't mean that they have abandoned Gold Hill.
Agreed wholeheartedly with both of you. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion?
I will make a motion to terminate the sheriff's contract with investigation into a private security firm at 30 hours of patrol, 10 hours of code enforcement. And I would like to revisit this when the audit is done to look at funding and whether or not at that point we are happy with this decision and want to revisit the Jackson County Sheriff's contract.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Jessica?
Counselor Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Rigney,
Yes.
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor Hinckley,
Yes.
Counselor Gino,
Yes.
Counselor Bishad.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 7.3, City Hall Community Room.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you all know, there's a vacant room here at City Hall. It's primarily being used as storage. Since I've been here, I've recognized the need or the desire to turn this room into a community room where we can have meetings, classes, and group activities. I've seen rooms of this size being used for Zumba, knitting classes, and various nonprofit meetings. And I think that, we're hopefully going to come out of the whole COVID pandemic era and start meeting in public again. And it'd be nice if this room was converted into something that everybody could use. Of course, if the concept is approved by the council, we would still have to research, the fire codes and building codes, and also, think about what types of fees we would charge for the use of the room, as well as insurance and liability requirements. So with that, Mayor, I turn it back over to you, and I'm available for questions.
And this has been something we've talked about for, I think, a year or so. I think it's timely that you bring it up. Any other thoughts?
One of my concerns with the community room is a policy in place that does not prioritize one group over the other. A couple years ago, we had a neighborhood watch that was using the council chambers before council meetings, and then there was another competing neighborhood watch, and there was a lot of drama that really got stirred up. So I think that if we decide to convert this, it needs to come along with a very clear policy about something like first come, first serve, sign up. No one's getting priority. No one gets to schedule it on a weekly basis. We need to be very clear on a policy on how this room is used.
Definitely. And first come, first serve was the exact words I was looking at. And it's going to be, for Jessica's replacement, it's going to be kind of a nightmare because it will involve deposits for the rental, and then we have to reimburse the deposit if the room is left in good condition. I know it's a pain, but
We already do that with park reservations though, so
perfect.
we already know how to do that. Yep.
All right. See, we got this.
The other question that I had about the community room, I know that there are 2 closets on the other side, and there have been some community groups that have asked if we convert it into something like a community center, like, because there are some people who want to do like soup kitchen kind of stuff, taking donations. Would we make those 2 closets available potentially for an additional fee to store certain things in those closets long term?
Those are my file rooms.
Oh, okay. If you're using them as file rooms, then that's fine. Then we have a reason why we can't use them.
Yeah, I would prefer that if it became a community room that we put locks on those doors and those continue to be for city use. But that's just me, but yeah, they're full of files.
And we need secure storage here in City Hall for sure.
Yeah. There may be a possibility of moving everything into one of them and having the other one available for something, but you know, there's far greater things that need to be done first, like restoring bathroom access. That needs to happen before we can do anything, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make the motion that we convert the vacant City Hall space into a community room.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Jessica?
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor Bescheid,
Yes.
sorry. Counselor Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Rigney,
Yes.
Counselor Hinckley,
Yes.
Counselor Gino. Yes? No? Counselor Gino?
Yes, sorry.
Okay. Motion passes.
Great, thank you. City recorder position. We
Actually,
did need
Mayor,
an executive-
before we move on, I would like to revisit the sheriff contract thing. I forgot to add into my motion the authority to continue to use the sheriff's substation. I would like to give general consensus that I meant to include that with the authority that the sheriffs can continue to use the substation. I don't know how I would amend that, or if it's just general consensus that's needed.
That's a good point. Help me out here,
I
Jessica.
think, is there anyone opposed to that? I believe that was the assumption that we would continue to allow them access to it, as Jerry
I've
talked
added those
about.
words in, and it sounds like no one is opposed.
Okay.
Sorry, I
great.
just wanted to make sure.
It's all right. Good
Good
to make
catch.
sure that we're clarifying that.
Yeah.
Okay, the city recorder position.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. As you know, in executive session, we discussed a city recorder candidate. You had the opportunity to speak with her, and staff is recommending that we hire Carrie. Hold on a second. Well, heck, we hire Carrie as our city recorder at a salary of $52,000 annual.
Are there any new points that we did not bring up in executive session? Is there a motion to offer the position to Carrie?
Motion to offer the city recorder position to Carrie Dollarhide. Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Jessica?
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor Bescheid,
Yes.
Counselor Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Hinckley,
Yes.
Counselor Gino,
Yes.
Counselor Rigney.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The WFX agreement.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you know, we've been trying to add water reservoirs to increase the water storage capacity for Gold Hill. Unfortunately, it comes with a price tag of $3.5 million. Actually, I give credit to Jessica for this because we've reached out to both Business Oregon and WFX, which is the Water Finance Exchange, in conjunction with RV COG. And we've met with them a couple times. We've had our engineer on a conference call with them this morning. And what WFX brings to the city is basically they're a nonprofit who is offering to help us find funding for this project. We were provided a couple scenarios by Business Oregon in which pretty much the cost of this project is going to be borne by our citizens in their utility bills. So I'm trying to avoid that. And so this item is basically getting your approval to enter into an agreement with WFX.
And Jerry, you mentioned that it's all kind of subject to sign off from our city engineer. You had a meeting today. How did they feel about this arrangement?
He's good. He asked the appropriate questions and got good responses from WFX, and he's comfortable. You know, I don't want to put all of our eggs in the same basket. I still think that we can work with Business Oregon. Nothing precludes us from doing that, but WFX does give us another option, and it just gives us more flexibility when it comes to financing or hopefully finding grant funding for this reservoir project.
And it sounds like they are envisioning developing a plan and then assisting us in finding funding for it. So the price is right. Probably a no, very little downside risk here if we can keep working with Business Oregon and USDA.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyone have any strong objections against this arrangement? Danielle?
I would
And
like
then
to
Maria?
clarify exactly what it is that they're going to be doing. Are they going to be helping us with our water master plan or our wastewater master plan? Because we haven't accepted those yet. We're still waiting on engineers' input. So kind of getting funding now seems to be putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah, no, it's no, they're just helping us find funding for the reservoir project. And they'll also be on board to help us if we want to find funding for whatever option the council chooses for the wastewater treatment plant, because they work in both arenas. And they've waived any fees so far. The only fees that were mentioned earlier, which our engineer inquired about, were, you know, what could we potentially be charged with? And their answer is basically, you know, something that's just not typical, something that's out of the ordinary. For instance, if there had to be a new study for wastewater or water treatment, WFX would probably have to charge us for that, but we would have the option to say, no, we'll take care of it, or we'll have someone else do it. So right now it's free help.
Leah?
I guess you just answered the question. I must have slept through it the first time or something. There's no charge to the city for this. This is completely free and gratis.
Yeah, and I included the letter of agreement in your guys' staff report. Hopefully you got it, but it states in there as well that they won't charge us for their help.
Yeah.
So Jerry, your recommendation was to entertain a motion to enter into an agreement with WFX with stipulation the engineer agrees with the mission, intent, and services.
That's correct.
Anyone like to make such a motion?
I'll make a motion to enter an agreement with WFX with the stipulation that the city engineer agrees with WFX mission, intent, and service.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Jessica?
Counselor Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Rigney,
Yes.
Counselor Gino,
Yes.
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor Bishad,
Yes.
Counselor Hinckley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay. Final item on our considerations this evening, 7.6 in-person council meetings.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This was brought up last meeting. There was an inquiry as to whether or not we could go back to in-person council meetings. We've checked with the health department. We're okay with them. It's strictly up to you guys, whether you want to go back to having in-person meetings. If you want a hybrid, you just tell us what you want and we'll make it happen.
I will make a motion to go to hybrid meetings where those who feel comfortable going back into chambers can. Those who do not feel comfortable or for whatever reasons can continue on the Zoom meetings, and we can do a hybrid meeting session. And I think that would be accommodating to counselors and citizens alike.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Mayor, we've got Counselor
Oh.
Bescheid.
Yes, Malia.
I think we forgot to have discussion before we moved, but so I'm only okay with going back to having in-person meetings as long as everyone agrees to follow county health department's guidelines for distancing and masking. And I'd like to have that in the motion.
I will amend my motion to include that those who attend the physical city council meeting adhere to public health requirements.
OHA recommendations. Okay. Is there that same second?
Second.
Okay. And Jessica.
Counselor Palmer,
Yes.
Counselor Bescheid,
Yes.
Counselor Wilson,
Yes.
Counselor Rigney,
Yes.
Counselor Hinckley,
Yes.
Counselor Gino.
Nope.
Motion passes.
Okay, that concludes all of our council considerations. Any reports from counselors, projects that people are working on? Malia.
Yeah, I attended the Brownfield training today, and I'm afraid I have more questions than I even started out with answers, but I'll follow up on it. I'm hoping that there is funding out there and that this is the pathway to get funding to clean up the cement plant mess in the middle of our public park and make it so that public can have a really nice place there to enjoy the riverbank. I'll keep working on it. I don't think I think it's really doable, but I'll let you know more.
Thank you. Anyone else? Moving on to department reports.
Actually, Mayor and members of the council, I've got nothing. I want to commend everyone. I mean, it's been an awesome meeting. We got a lot of stuff taken care of. I will tell you that we purposely held some stuff over for the next meeting to not make this such a long meeting, but I just thank you for everybody's help and moving this all forward. We got some stuff done.
Danielle and Malia.
So mine was actually just in preparation for good of the order. If you want to move on to that, Mayor, is that okay?
Not quite. Malia.
Okay.
Try again. Just wanted to ask, is the host situation in the park going to be on the park hours? Is that going to be on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes, it will. Yeah, it's on our list of yeah, like I said, I didn't want to bombard everyone with too much tonight. We had a pretty aggressive agenda, but yes, absolutely, Counselor.
Okay, the public is asking, so thank you.
Yep, you got it.
Jessica, anything you'd like to share with us?
No, some of you may or may not be aware that we recently hired a new city clerk, Kathy Kroom, in addition to the new recorder, and I'm looking forward to training both of them and getting this job. Sorry, I didn't mean to say it like that. I love you guys. I love the city, and I'm going to be here for as long as it takes to make sure everybody's headed in the right direction.
And that's actually a huge factor, Jessica. We do appreciate, we knew you were ready to move on, but you've hung in there, and training the new people so they're not just flailing around is very,
well, you know,
very
I've said it
important.
before. I put too much work into getting everything straight here to just let it all go to chaos. So I'm going to make sure you're in good hands before I leave.
Thank you. Anyone else? And good of the order.
All right, give me 1 second because I got to get my thoughts straight out again. Okay, so with the hiring of a new recorder, I would like to remind everybody that unless we have a work session next week, we have 1 to 2 more meetings until 2022. 2022 is an election season, and it's a time for getting things on the ballot for that election year. So we need to be thinking about between now and the end of the year, what do we need to be put, like things like charter amendments, things like the fact that we have 3 counselors coming up for election, as well as the mayoral position coming up for election in 2022. All of that has to go on the ballot, and the Carrie who is coming in for the recorder position needs to get on her elections training immediately so that we can have all of our ducks in a row by the deadlines.
Good point. Thank you for that forward thinking. Anyone else? Well, given our 3 meetings, it's been quite a slog tonight. Thanks for everyone's hard work and attention. This meeting's adjourned.